My name is Alexander Sudarshanan Abhisheganathan, and I was born in 1926. This diary was written when I was 17 years of age during Japanese occupation. In those days, the year was called 2603, which could be 1943. 26th of February, 1943, this is what I wrote. Nowadays, there is a great scarcity of food. Rice can't be bought without permits. Only now we realize what war is. Food unavailable and sold at terrific rates.
The Japanese introduced a new currency to replace the Straits dollar. Because of the banana design on the notes, locals called it banana money. But the banana currency started to suffer from high inflation and dropped drastically in value because the authorities would simply print more whenever they needed more money.
There was no accounting, there was no serial number. I mean, it was literally just a piece of paper.
I'm Eileen Wong. I'm 83. Prior to Japanese occupation, we had a very comfortable life. Of course, we were young. We went to school and went home and played our games. But at the Japanese occupation, I had to go to work at the age of 12. I learned Japanese for 6 months and then went to a firm and became a Japanese typist with 3,000 characters in front of me. I signed a contract for 40 Japanese dollars, and at the end of the 3 years, 40 Japanese dollars couldn't even buy a chicken. It was inflation bad time. I had a friend who had one room full of notes, but I don't know how rich they were. It wasn't worth much, he said.
The banana currency became so devalued that a lot of the business done during the Shonan years was barter trade, with rice, sugar, and salt. People also preferred to be paid with food.
Sometimes when I look back, it was the happiest time of my life. Waterloo Street was where there was the main Japanese school for learning the Japanese language. And somehow the sensei knew that I was a good musician, and he asked whether I could be used to teaching Japanese songs on radio. And I said yes. So there was I singing all the most favorite Japanese songs. We were paid with food and not with money. So I would receive some loaves of bread and some cakes.
During the Japanese occupation, huge amounts of money chasing shrinking amounts of goods led to hyperinflation. People had to go to the black market for some of their necessities as soon as the occupation started, because their supply chain was broken. The black marketeers would set up roadside stalls at Sungai Road, displaying samples of goods they had on offer.
A black market, I mean, to put it bluntly, is an illegal market. It's a market that operates in the absence of just and fair market mechanisms. So the black market, definitely in terms of food, was a direct response to the strict controls on food and the rationing of food that the Japanese had undertaken. It's an illegal economy that works, and it happens, of course, because there's food that's scarce and there's shortage of supplies. Which doesn't mean to say that there isn't enough for everybody. It's just that it's being hoarded, right? So you have available food and commodities, but it is restricted in a few hands. And this, again, didn't ensure any kind of equal distribution, because only people who had something that they could trade for the restricted commodities had access to the black market.
And in between the work, I used to sell black market things because that salary was so small. I could hardly buy a few bags of beans. And so I worked by selling gold, textiles, and made a lot of money. If people gave me something, I just added $100 to it like that and sold it. If you want real patent medicines, you have to buy it with, in the black market with not the Japanese notes, they were inflated, very much inflated, with tiger notes, which is British notes, which if you had any, you could buy medicines, you could buy razor blades and all the black market things.
Towards the end of 1942, the military administration began grouping suppliers of various commodities into distribution monopolies called kumiai. Their job was to prevent profiteering and escalating prices by controlling the flow of goods. Producers of various goods had to sell to the kumiai, which in turn licensed a group of traders to deal with the product.
我咧係姓黎，名叫國華，黎國華，1916年出世，11月20號。我哋同日本仔做生意咧，賣啲魚俾佢，係無意中嘅。有一日咧，日本嗰個佢去巡。 咁啊見到就話我哋好多魚啊，咁樣運上嚟啊，有啲又蝕，有啲又分嚟咁樣。佢睇見佢就揾我哋，佢話我係軍部，我同你買啲魚，你愛唔愛賣俾我？冇所謂，做生意你咪買啦，係咪？咁佢又講話，你賣俾啲魚俾我，你愛收完錢又得，你愛換物質又得，每隻米啊，啲米啊，嗰啲魚同交換啲米啊。 我哋係執住一笪地方，唔係話咁樣視為去收嘅。我哋有個地方我哋掛個招牌喺度，我哋收買魚，嗰啲魚啲人攞嚟吧，唔止話當地嗰啲漁夫啊，我哋對面海啊嗰個對面海個印尼嘅島仔啊，去咗德江啊、四元島、五元島嗰啲地方啊，嗰啲人都真係會運啲魚賣俾我哋。
The kumiai system did not improve the food situation. In fact, it made matters worse.
There was a lot of corruption, and that really exacerbated the problem as well, right? So they would first take what they wanted for themselves and then leave the remainder to private traders, right? But then the private traders would have to bribe the Japanese, okay, in order to access these restricted goods, which they would then have to sell at really escalated prices on the black market, which meant that only some people who had resources could access them.
You buy with a lot of money. Small little fish, like kambong or what, small fish. We never saw the big fish. The Japanese ate all the best fish. There was a lot of seafood for them, but not for the population.
日本入咗嚟咧，除咗入嚟嗰時2、3個禮拜啊，好混亂之外，後來慢慢就恢復翻個原狀。每個北室都有魚賣，有蝦賣，有雞、有鴨、有燒肉、有豬肉、有菜蔬賣。只係你有錢咧就，不過呢啲嘢就貴咗好多。嗰啲缺乏嘅嘢咧就貴到離晒譜咁樣。
Even if you queue up, you don't get the meat. You get 2 pieces of dead fish, that smelly dead fish. At 5:30 a.m. you get up, you come back 6:30. My sister will bring 2 dead fish, smelly dead fish back home. But still, you have to cook it. We have no food.
Today we're making sotong, or squid, stir-fried with pickled mustard greens. This simple dish is taken from a cookery book called Cookery Book on Local Food, which was published in 1946. This was a year after the occupation ended, but the influence of wartime food shortages can still be seen in its economical approach to cooking. So here I have 2 types of pickled mustard green, or kiam chai as it's known locally. This type has thick, juicy stems, and this other type has thinner stems and longer leaves. So I'm just going to use some of each of these. I'm going to cut it into shreds. Now, if you had access to salt during the war, pickling and preserving your own vegetables was a great way to keep them for future use, and the flavor from the fermentation also made them a very tasty condiment with which you could season dishes. Because they are preserved with a lot of salt, we do have to soak them in water before cooking just to remove the excess salt so that they're not too unpalatable. So I'm just going to let those soak while I cut up the garlic and the red chili. So I'm just going to thinly slice the chili. We don't need very much of it, just a bit to give a kick of heat to the dish. And we're going to finely chop the garlic. So now we're going to cut the squid. And of course, for good food hygiene, always use a separate cutting board and clean knife for seafood and vegetables. There are a couple of ways to cut this. We could simply just slice it into rings. But today, I'm going to cut it into small pieces that will curl up during frying, and they will look quite attractive. So I'm just going to slit the body open. I'm just going to score it part way through the flesh. This will help it to cook quicker, and it will also make an attractive pattern once the squid slices cook and curl up. Sotong has been prepared, so now I'm going to squeeze dry the mustard greens. And squeeze them gently just to get rid of extra moisture. And now we can proceed to stir fry everything together. Now I'll add the chopped garlic and chili, and I'm just going to fry them for a couple of minutes until they just start to turn golden and the fragrance rises. Next, I'm going to add the sotong. So sotong is the Malay word for squid. Now, you either cook squid for a very short time or a very long time, because otherwise it's going to be tough. So we're just going to stir fry it for maybe a minute. Now the sotong is cooked, so I'm going to scoop it out of the pan so I can fry the kiam chai separately. Next, I'm going to add the mustard greens to the pan and fry them for a little bit until they dry out slightly. Kiam chai is the local Hokkien name for salted pickled mustard greens. Now I'm going to return the sotong to the pan and fry everything together for several seconds more so that flavors can mingle. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of sugar because its sweetness will accentuate the salty sourness of the mustard greens. And there we have it, a tasty comfort dish that can be served with rice or porridge.
One of the advantages of living on an island was that people could turn to the waters around them to supplement their diets. Many learned to catch their own fish or seafood, which was plentiful in the sea, rivers, and even the drains.
We had no meat, no fish to supplement our diet. Therefore, my uncle, my second uncle, Han Yen and I, every evening, we were in the monsoon drain. I used to hold a torch for him, catching eels. But we were very successful, They were actually quite delicious if you know how to cook it well, with chili and sambal, and very nice. We eat a lot of eels.
我哋嗰陣時咧，切咗自己屋企嘅魚米雞同埋雞蛋，我哋都唔缺乏啊，好豐富。 嗰陣我哋不但自己有得食，我哋周時攞條西刀魚翻嚟啊，切開一幾嚿幾嚿，4、5嚿分俾家裏所有，好歡喜啊！佢哋愛買都好艱難買得到，唔係咧貴咧，喺北西都有魚賣，不過好貴，咁我分俾佢哋好歡喜。
我今年87，我的名字叫赖金红。 如果那个什么瓜、苦瓜，那个什么冬瓜，那个就已经不矮瓜那种哈，那个鸡瓜就一点。如果要烂呢，那个切瓜了有烂的就劈掉，就又大的、又长的、又小的，就堆一堆，啊，你就很便宜，啊，看那个你就买回来就有盐啊，有油啊。 就炒，就大家玩，那个时候就吃这种东西过天过日。如果那个有时候看到他买鱼，人家的鱼头不要，我们就剪， 他说不问他要不要，他说不要。这很多人捡，也不是我一个人要，每个都要。不过他里面就讲，每个人拿3、4个就好，不要拿多，随别人的要这样讲，那就好。就是拿几个就几个了，回来就洗干净。就也是拿一点油去煎我的姜，那个姜也不是买，那个姜也是头明尾丢，我们又是捡回来，捡回好就要，不好我们就丢，就拿姜啊，拿些煎的拿水给滚那个头那个骨头弄就不要啊，不要就清个汤清，我们就拿来当汤喝。有一天就看有捡的那个颗粒菜也好，那个白菜也好，有些青菜，有时有，有时都没有。你就洗干净，把放那个鱼汤，那个鱼滚，那个滚起来就有汤有菜，就可以吃。
The Japanese tried to exert power over the population of Singapore by controlling food and money. The consequence was an unequal distribution of wealth and food supplies. Whether doing business, buying or selling on the black market, or rummaging through rubbish, many people were literally fishing for food. It was a game of chance. You never knew what you were going to get when you cast your net.